Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing a guide for the nation of the Ottomans in EU4 1.35. But before this video begins, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as it helps out tremendously. And now let's jump into the Ottomans. The Ottomans are a nation located in Anatolia and are actually one of the, if not the strongest nations at the start of the game. The Ottomans have unique government reforms and government modifiers as well as their army unit pips make it so that basically they are invincible. However, in the 1.35 update, they got this new thing called decadence, where basically the Ottomans have this modifier called the Rise of the Ottomans, which ensures basically you won't have to worry about decadence until the Age of Discovery is over. After that, you will have to start looking at the decadence and trying to manage it. This kind of government reform or government modifier, I guess, is basically meant to show how the Ottomans historically declined. So this is one of the things that you really need to watch out for. And in this guide, I'm going to show you not only how to conquer insane amounts of territory as the Ottomans really quickly, but also how to manage this new decadence mechanic so that you in your Ottomans game can ensure that you survive and prosper. But before we can do all that, we need to set up our estates. So for the Janissaries, you want to give out loyalty to the Sultanate. The Janissaries are one of those estates that you really want to maintain loyal, because if they become disloyal, they can actually revolt, and you do not want that to happen, trust me. Ensure discipline training. This will basically give +5 discipline to all of your Janissary units, which will make them even more powerful than they already are. And we also want to give out Janissary celibacy. For the dhimmi, you want to give out promote dhimmi education, grant dhimmi liberties, and higher dhimmi taxes. For the merchant guilds, you want to give out patronage of the art, private trade fleets, and land of commerce. For the Omera, we want to give out expand the fortifications. This is because forts within the Ottoman Empire are quite expensive. However, do keep in mind that this will make the Omera not exempt from seizing land, but will make it so that when you dev your provinces, the Emera are not within the estates losing land. So do keep that in mind. We also want to give out increased levies and primacy of the Omera. For the Olema, we want to give out established religious schools, religious diplomats, oversight by the Olema, and religious state. And then you want to summon the Diet, choose whichever agenda that you think you can complete the easiest. I'm going to choose this one right here, and seize land. After setting up your states as the Ottomans, the next thing that you want to do is look at your mission tree. The Ottoman mission tree has been completely overhauled in EU4 1.35. I'm just going to scroll down quickly, look at all of these amazing missions. You have these branching missions, which gives out all of these kind of like mystery modifiers and mystery paths that you can go on. But before all this, the thing that you want to do is go ahead and look and see what you can start doing in your mission tree. So the easiest thing, the thing that you can basically do from day one in your mission tree, is this mission here called Refill the Ortas, where you basically need to have your army a total of 90% of the force limit, and this will give you claims on every single Turkish province, which is amazing. So in order to complete this mission, what you want to go ahead and do is hire only 1 or 2 Janissary regiments. Keep in mind that the upkeep of Janissary regiments is 100% more than these base game units and these base units, so the costs of maintaining them can quickly catch up to you. So really only hire 2 or 3. Any more than that, it will just cost too much. Oh, and for the merchant guilds, also, don't forget to get indebted to the merchant guilds. We're going to need those 1% loans in order to fund our army. And after hiring 2 or 3 Janissary regiments, no more than that, as again, they will cost too much, just go ahead and hire one of these merc companies here. I'm going to hire the Free Company. And within around the first month of the game, you should get this event here called the Victory over the Varna Crusade. Basically, this was just a historical victory that the Ottomans had around this time. And you'll get 25% power protection and gain 100 splendor, which will make getting your age ability even quicker. And along with refilling the Ortas, you can also complete this mission here called the Aftermath of Varna. That event that I just showed you just has to fire, and you also need to recruit 2 generals, so just go ahead and recruit your ruler, and then you should be able to complete this mission here called the Aftermath of Varna, which will give you claims on basically the entirety of Greece and, of course, the Byzantines. For your starting allies as the Ottomans, it really is up to you who you want to ally. You really don't need any allies as the Ottomans, to be honest. You are extremely powerful. However, if you would like to get some allies, I would recommend allying Tunis, as oftentimes the Mamluks will ally Tunis. So if you ally them, then the Mamluks can't ally them. And keep in mind, you will have to fight the Mamluks relatively early, and the less allies they have, the better. I am also going to go ahead and ally Crimea, just so I have someone who I can easily curry favors with and who is close by to help me. If you would like, you can also ally the Bohemians. It really isn't necessary. However, if it does make you feel better, then you can go ahead and ally them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. And once you build your army up to at least 90% of the force limit, you can go ahead and complete this mission called Refill the Ortas. This will give you claims on basically the entirety of Anatolia. Now, by this point in the game, you should be able to complete a third mission, and this mission should be completed before you attack the Byzantines. That mission being the Guns of Urban. This mission is unique and extremely overpowered, as it gives you 4 cannons way earlier than anyone else in the game can get them. You basically get bronze mortars, I think like 50, 60 years before anyone else can get them, which is insane. You basically get them for free. As you can see, they're minus 100% artillery costs. All you need for this is to be employing a military advisor with at least 2 skills, and well, what do you know? You will get this event called the Siege Engineer Urban, where you can go ahead and hire him. He's 75% cheaper for 74 ducats, and once you do that, you can go ahead and hire him right here, and you will be able to complete this mission called Guns of Urban. And as you can see, you get cannons in your capital 50 to 60 years early in the game, and you basically get them for free. So that is really amazing. Like I said, the Ottoman mission tree is insanely overpowered in 1.35, and by following this guide, you will be able to conquer basically all of Hungary, all of Egypt, and even into Persia in no time. For your rivals as the Ottomans, just go ahead and rival whoever has rivaled you back. I'm going to go ahead and rival the Mamluks, of course, Lithuania, and just whoever else I really want to. I'm just going to go ahead and also rival Hungary. Another nation that you want to make sure an ally, which I forgot to mention, is ally at least either Dawasir or Najd. The reason why you want to ally either Dawasir or Najd is because these countries will give you access to the Hanbali Scholar, and the only way you can get that is if you are allied to Dawasir. So go ahead and try to ally Dawasir. Start by royal marrying them, and it will take you over your relations limit, of course, unfortunately. However, it will take you over a relations limit, but don't worry. What you can go ahead and do is just stop guaranteeing Ragusa, which is something that you should be doing from the very beginning anyway. And there we go. Now we have enough room to ally Dawasir. So go ahead and ally Dawasir so that you can get the Hanbali Scholar, which, if you don't know, gives you minus 10% aggressive expansion cost, which we desperately need as the Ottomans. These other ones we really don't need. We just need the AE cost, as we are going to be expanding a lot very quickly. And by this point in the game, it is time to declare your first war. So, as the Ottomans, your first war is going to be against the Byzantines. We got claims on them from this mission here, the Aftermath of Varna. So for your first war, go ahead and attack the Byzantines for the conquest of Constantinople. Whenever a sultan dies, you're going to get this event called the Janissary Reward, where basically you need to give the Janissaries a reward, or else they will get all of these terrible modifiers, less discipline, extra reinforcement costs, and they will lose loyalty. Always give them the wages, as it is not worth it to refuse such blackmail. Always allow the blackmail and pay them their wages. And once you finish fully sieging down Byzantium, you can go ahead and do a peace deal. Just fully annex them. You can make them revoke some cores if you want, just so the AI doesn't have any cores on you. Fully annex them, take Athens, their vassal, and send it. Now, before you core all of these provinces that you just took from Byzantium, namely Constantinople, you want to click this decision here, which moves the Ottoman capital to Constantinople, and you get it as a free core. If you don't do that, or if you do core, if you core all, before you click that button, you will actually have to pay the admin power for Constantinople, and you won't get it back. So before you core Constantinople, make sure you click that decision, then you can core all the provinces. And once you make Constantinople your capital, you can go ahead and complete this mission called City of the World's Desires, where it will give you a bunch of dev in Constantinople, get rid of the development and devastation, and give you all these amazing modifiers. After your war against the Byzantines, it is time for you to declare your next war. Now, your next war that you start really can be one of two. It can either be against the other Turkish beyliks here. However, do keep in mind that you usually have a truce with some of them. We have a truce here with Karaman. You don't really have one with Kandar, so you can go ahead and declare on them. That can be your first option, or for your second option, you can go ahead and declare against Epirus. Now, the reason we want to declare against Epirus is, of course, we have a claim on them, but we also want to complete this mission here called Reign in Greece, where we need to hold all of these provinces here, and we'll get a claim on the entirety of the Balkans, which is absolutely amazing. You also lose a bunch of autonomy in the Greek provinces, so you can pick either of these. Honestly, you can probably fight both of the wars at the same time, to be honest, depending on who Epirus is allied to. They're normally only allied to Ragusa and sometimes the Byzantines. If you got lucky, sometimes you can annex them both in one war. I couldn't do that, so it's really up to you. I'm going to pick Epirus since I love getting claims on the entirety of the Balkans. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and attack Epirus. For your peace deal against Ragusa, if they happen to be allied to Epirus, I recommend vassalizing them if you can. You also can fully annex Ragusa if you would like. It really is only 2 more aggressive expansion. However, I do want to use the Ragusan navy, and they actually do have quite a few claims here in the Balkans. So if you can, go ahead and vassalize Ragusa. And for your peace deal with Epirus, of course, just fully annex them and take all of their money. You can make them revoke some cores if you want, and just like that. And once you annex all of Greece, you can go ahead and complete this mission here called Reign in Greece. It gives you some prestige. It makes them lose separatism, which is really nice, as the unrest here is pretty bad, and they all lose 100% local autonomy. Once you get your relations up to 150 with Dawasir, you can go ahead and invite the Hanbali scholar. Definitely do this, as the minus 10% aggressive expansion is very powerful. And for your third war, if you didn't declare it against Epirus and you declared it against the Beyliks, then your third war will be against Epirus. But if, like me, you declared your second war against Epirus, then for your next war, go ahead and attack the Turkish Beyliks. Oftentimes they are allied to each other, so just go ahead and see which alliance networks will be the least annoying. As you can see here, if I was to attack Kandar, their one ally of Dulkadir wouldn't even join, so I'm going to go ahead and attack Kandar. It doesn't really matter which one that you attack. Sometimes they can be allied to the Mamluk, so watch out for that. However, oftentimes they're just allied to each other, so go ahead and attack whoever is the easiest. And so for your peace deal with any of the Turkish Beyliks, doesn't matter if it's Kandar or if it's Karaman, any of them, just fully annex them and take all of their money. And what you want to keep doing once you do your first war against the Beyliks is you just want to keep declaring on the rest of the Beyliks. Just do the same process, attack them, fully annex them, just keep doing that over and over again. I'm going to go ahead and do that to Karaman, do it to Ramazan, and do it to Dulkadir as well. At some point after annexing the Byzantines and having Constantinople, you are going to get this event called the Fate of the Patriarchate. Basically, you can choose to either kind of tolerate the Orthodox Christians and keep them there, or you can close them down and confiscate all of their property. This one makes the Orthodox provinces in your country less unrestful and less likely to rebel and gives you these modifiers here, whereas the bottom one makes basically all the Orthodox countries hate you, but you get some money and some extra dev in Constantinople. Honestly, it really is up to you which one you want to take. This one gives you just manpower, whereas this one gives you manpower and production. Honestly, I would take this one. The minus 25 opinion of Orthodox countries really doesn't matter, as there's really not a ton of Orthodox countries, and we're going to be annexing most of them anyway. Really, the only massive Orthodox country that really matters is Muscovy, but they can't even see us by this point anyway, so I would recommend taking the bottom option. And for the peace deal, of course, just fully annex them. I actually can't do that because Ramazan attacked Karaman right when I did and managed to snipe this province with the fort, but don't worry, I'm just going to go ahead and fully annex Karaman, take all of their money, and I'm just going to turn right around and attack Ramazan anyway. So keep just mopping up these Ottoman Beyluks, I'm going to go ahead and attack Ramazan, co-belligerate Dulkadirs. We want to fully annex everyone that's here. And once again, I think you get the picture by now. Any country that you're fighting as a Turkish Beyluk, of course, just go ahead and fully annex them and take all of their money. And once you fully annex all of the Ottoman Beyluks, you can go ahead and complete this mission called Conquest of the Beyluks. It gives you some admin power and claims on the rest of Anatolia. And now it's time to chill for just a couple of years, let our cores finish, as by this point, if you've been following this guide, you've probably done quite a lot of conquering, so wait for a couple of years, let a few of your cores finish, and then we can prepare for the next war. When the Sultanate of Granada falls to the Castilians, you're going to get this event called the Moorish Refugees. Of course, always take the top one. You lose some Diplo power and some admin power, but that tech cost and dev cost is very much worth it. All right, after chilling for around 2 years or just waiting until most of your provinces have been cored, they're just state cores, it's time to declare your next war. So if you're following my guide, then you've probably been expanding quite a bit to the east. So now it is time to turn our attention towards Western Europe. Your truces with the various nations around here, Serbia, Hungary, Poland, should have ended a while ago, so you can freely attack them. Now, for your first target, I recommend attacking Serbia. Now, the reason we want to attack Serbia is because Serbia has this lovely Kosovo gold mine, and we want to get this gold mine before anyone else can get it, such as Hungary or Bosnia or Albania. So, for your next war, go ahead and attack Serbia. They're normally not allied to anyone major. In my case, they're just allied to Bosnia, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can co-belligerate Bosnia. There's also Celje there, and go ahead and do something like this. Attack them for Kosovo. For your tier 2 government reform, as the Ottomans, I recommend taking the Devshmir system. This will give you plus 10% national manpower modifier and plus 10% Janissary loyalty equilibrium, which is one of the key ones. And it'll also allow you to get the Devshmir government mechanic ability, which I'll show you what that is in just a second. So for your tier 2 government reform, make sure you take the Devshmir system. After taking the Devshmir system, you will get these interactions here, which are just below your decadence. This will basically allow you to do 3 things. Number 1, assign local pashas, which will make the core creation cost cheaper. The middle one will give you recruit a new Grand Vizier. It'll give you a advisor who is cheaper. And this one here will give you manpower recovery speed and plus 25% vassal manpower contribution at the expense of military power. So some really nice government interactions. And so for your peace deal with Serbia, depending on who they are allied to, your peace deal will look slightly different than mine. If, like me, the Serbians are allied to the Bosnians, then go ahead and fully annex Serbia. You can vassalize Serbia if you want. Oftentimes, Hungary will attack Serbia, and Serbia will just kind of be left with these 3 or 4 provinces down here, which in that case, they're actually a pretty decent vassal if Hungary or someone else takes these provinces. However, in my game, they really only have these 2 cores, and it's not worth it. Plus, I also already have my vassal of Ragusa, so I'm just going to go ahead and fully annex them. Regardless of what you do with Serbia, just make sure that you at the very least take the gold mine here in Kosovo. I'm going to fully annex Serbia, and since Bosnia is in this war, and since I co-belligerated Bosnia, I'm going to try and take as much of Bosnia as possible, try to cut off anyone else from taking them. Unfortunately, I can't take this top province, but I'm just trying to take as much as possible. So go ahead and take something like this, but always make sure that you take the gold mine province of Kosovo. If you're ever running low on admin points and you don't want to spend it all on coring, feel free to give some provinces to your vassal. That's really one of the main advantages to having vassals. So I'm just going to go ahead and give some of these Bosnian provinces to Ragusa, as it'll make sure that I don't have to spend as much admin power coring them. After that big war with Serbia, if you took the peace deal that I took, where you basically took almost all of Bosnia and the entirety of Serbia in one war, you likely have a lot of aggressive expansion. In my game, I actually have a small coalition that formed. So in that case, it's time to chill from expanding into the Balkans. You likely won't be able to anyway, as the Hungarians typically will either be a personal union member under the Austrians, or if you got lucky like I did, they will be independent but still relatively powerful. So instead, give it time, improve with outraged countries, let your aggressive expansion tick down, and let the coalition subside, and instead turn your attention to the east. I'm going to keep expanding into Anatolia so I can complete this mission right here, Unify Anatolia. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and attack Trebizond, and for your peace deal with Trebizond, just fully annex them and take all of their money. For your first Splendor ability as the Ottomans, honestly, I recommend taking Justified Wars. Before 1.35, I would have said to take this one, but they have severely nerfed it. It used to be like, I think, plus 25% siege ability. Now it's just plus 1 liter siege, which is still fine. However, I think aggressive expansion impact is a lot better, especially combining it with the already minus 10% AE from the Hanbali scholars. So for your first age ability as the Ottomans, I recommend taking Justified Wars. And now it's time to declare your next war, and that war is going to be against someone in Anatolia. The reason you want to do that is because we want to complete this mission as soon as possible called Unify Anatolia, which will give us claims on the Mashri region here, which we need to attack the Mamluks with. Now, the reason we want to do this as soon as possible is oftentimes the Mamluks will either ally or annex these nations right here. So we want to get to them AQ, all these other little nations here as soon as possible. Alternatively, you could also use this time to attack the Venetians or the Knights or the Genoese to get the provinces here as well. However, if like me, you have a pretty big coalition against you, including the Mamluks, the Venetians, and all these other people, then you won't be able to attack them. One side note, I actually allied the French to help stave off the coalition. I'm kind of hurting with the Diplo points, but I do think it is worth it, as with France on my side, the coalition will almost certainly not fire. My only option now is to declare on AQ. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Your situation might be the same as mine. It might be different. AQ is not allied to anyone big, so go ahead and see who you can attack. When you get this event as the Ottomans called Fate of the Crimean Khanate, of course, I recommend picking the top option for the claims. This one just gives you all of these random opinions of people who are going to hate you anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So for this event, make sure you take the top option. For your peace deal with Akiyunlu or whoever is here, I recommend just taking what you have claims on. You can take all these provinces if they are available. However, it's just going to cost even more admin and Diplo points. So I recommend just take everything that you have claims on, no more than that. Take all of their money and take war reps. For your first idea group as the Ottomans, I recommend taking quality ideas. Now, you can take offensive ideas, and before 1.35, offensive ideas was honestly probably one of the better options just because you could stack the siege ability. However, the siege ability is still really good, but quality ideas is better, as of course it has all this nice stuff for your army and for your navy, and you do have a big navy as the Ottomans, but it has a secret extra at the very end, which it gives you plus 5% discipline, but plus 10% Janissary loyalty equilibrium. And as time goes on in your Ottoman game, you are going to struggle keeping the Janissary estate loyal. So having that plus 10% Janissary loyalty equilibrium is going to be really nice. So for your first idea group as the Ottomans, make sure you take quality ideas. Make sure that as you progress through your game that you are using this time to build as many buildings as possible. Of course, you want to build manpower buildings in provinces that'll give you manpower like Constantinople, and build some trade buildings, especially in places with centers of trade. So like this province right here, but also make sure that you're building production buildings. And now it is time to declare the next war. This next war is going to be to take, at the very least, these provinces that we have claims on, which is currently owned by Karakayanlu. The reason we want to do that is, again, we want to rush to complete this mission called Unify Anatolia. The reason we want to do that is because the sooner we complete this, the sooner we can attack the Mamluks, and the sooner we can really get the Ottoman mission tree snowballing. So I'm going to attack QQ for the conquest of Bitlis. For your tier 3 government reform as the Ottomans, I recommend taking either expanded royal court or provincial government system. This one right here is really based on if you want to continue down the path of tolerance for the Mamluks, thereby using the Pasha system. I'm going to take Expanded Royal Court, but in your game, there really is no right or wrong. Expanded Royal Court or Provincial Government System are both good. For your second Splendor ability as the Ottomans, if you didn't take Justified Wars for your first one, then take Justified Wars now. However, if, like me, you did take Justified Wars, then for your second Splendor ability, take Ottoman Siegecraft. For For your peace deal for QQ, I'd recommend really, of course, prioritizing what you have claims on those 3 provinces, and just taking something like this. You can take a little bit more, you can take a little bit less. You're going to get claims on pretty much all of this anyway from your mission tree, so it doesn't really matter too much. I'm just going to take something like this. I'm going to take all of their money and war reps. And once you annex enough provinces in Anatolia, you can go ahead and complete this mission called Unify Anatolia. It'll give you this event right here, victory for the House of Osmanagu, and will give you claims on basically the rest of the Mamluks and parts of QQ. So now it's time to chill and fight some rebels, as by this point in the game you will probably have quite a few rebels from all the different cultures and religions that you've been conquering. And now it is time for the moment that we have all been waiting for, our first war against the Mamluks. Definitely one of the hardest wars that you will fight at the beginning of the game, but don't worry, if you've been following this guide, you should have absolutely no problem defeating the Mamluks. So go ahead, and once you have gotten claims on the Mamluks from your mission tree, go ahead and declare on them for whichever province you want. I'm going to go ahead and declare for this province right here, and go right in. Don't be afraid. As long as you play it smart and pay attention, you should be okay. For your second idea group as the Ottomans, it really does depend what you are trying to do. So in 1.35, there's this new vassal called the islets, and they are very, very powerful, and I've seen many strategies from different people where you kind of play the islet game, use the islets to become very powerful and annex land very quickly. It is within your mission tree. You get claims to annex Hungary and places like that. So if you want to play a game like that and you really want to keep them around, then I would recommend taking influence ideas. However, if you really want to snowball your money very early on in the game and you want to be swimming in ducats as early as possible, then I recommend taking trade ideas, not only because it will give you more merchants to steer even more trade towards Constantinople, but the policy with trade and quality is plus 15% trade efficiency from the cloth quality edict. So it really is up to you what game you are trying to play. Ultimately, you can't really go wrong with taking either of these. However, since I like trade ideas and since I like money in my EU4 games, I'm going to go ahead and pick trade ideas for my second idea group. So for your peace deal with the Mamluks, I recommend taking something like this. You can 100% peace them if you want. However, do keep in mind we want to complete this mission called Defeat the Mamluks as soon as possible. So we want a short truce. So just take these provinces right here. Don't take any money, don't take any war reps. And with that, we will be able to complete this mission here called Defeat the Mamluks. We don't want to click this just yet, as we want the casus belli as close as possible until our truce is over. However, when we start approaching 1504, when this truce is over, at least in my game, we will be able to click this. For your tier 4 government reform as the Ottomans, I recommend taking Maintain Balance of Power. And by this point in the game, your nation should look a little bit something like this. As the Ottomans, you should have expanded into Serbia in Bosnia. If you were like me, you probably could have annexed them in at least one war, or at the very least, we almost annexed them. But after doing that, we got a massive coalition. You should have expanded eastwards, eaten up all the Ottoman beyliks, and attacked whoever was here. Maybe it was AQ, maybe it was the Mamluks, maybe QQ had already eaten everyone up here. Sometimes I've even seen Georgia go completely crazy. So it doesn't really matter who's here, but you should have just expanded into this area, as completing this mission here to defeat the Mamluks will basically allow the Ottoman mission tree to snowball drastically. You'll be able to annex basically the entirety of the Mamluks in one war, and will be able to progress into North Africa and into Europe very quickly. For our first idea group, we took quality for those amazing modifiers for our army and our navy, and for the nice Janissary loyalty equilibrium at the end. For our second idea group, we took Diplo ideas. You could have also taken trade ideas if you wanted to, however, it really is up to you. This influence ideas is really good for the islets as the Ottomans. For your third idea group, I honestly recommend taking trade if you do not take it for your second idea group. If you took trade for your second idea group, for your third idea group as the Ottomans, I honestly recommend taking a military idea group, as you want to have your armies as strong as possible. Honestly, I'd recommend taking offensive ideas, as pairing offensive with quality will basically make your armies even more unstoppable than they already are. And for your fourth idea group, it really is up to you. If you did not take influence ideas for your second idea group or your third idea group, and you're struggling to keep your potential islets and vassals and marches loyal, then I would recommend taking influence ideas. However, if you're not struggling with influence or you already took influence, then you can maybe take economic, or you can take infrastructure, or even humanist if you're struggling with rebels. It really is up to you. And for your 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th idea groups, it really doesn't matter. You can take whatever you want and just tailor it to how your game is going. This is what we took for our first 4 government reforms as the Ottomans. For tier 5, I recommend taking either organized military staff or sustained discipline. For tier 6, I recommend taking general states. For tier 7, I recommend taking meritocratic recruitment. For tier 8, I recommend taking curtailing the burghers. That trade company governing cost is really handy, as you are going to be trade companying most of this stuff here in the Safi and Tunis trade node, potentially even stuff in the Alexandria, Aleppo, and Basra trade node. For tier 9, I recommend taking this one right here or this one right here. For tier 10, if you're struggling with GovCap, then take l'État Samois. However, if you are not, then take Divine Rights. And for tier 11, I recommend taking this one right here. This has been a guide for the nation of the Ottomans in EU4 1.35. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as it helps out tremendously. I just hit 1,000 subscribers and I'm so grateful to everyone who has been subscribing, so thank you very much. My next goal is probably 5,000 subscribers, and I'm sure we can definitely make that happen with your support. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.